Okay, welcome to the Ask the Experts webinar for Tuesday, December the 5th, 2018. Today's session brings us two experts from Southwestern Ontario, from Hamilton and from Waterloo, and our topic today is robot in 3 days. So as you know, the format, if you've been on before, is we have a couple of experts. We'll ask them some questions. They'll either answer the questions or talk about what they really want to talk about. And during the course of our conversations, you may have some questions as a guest. And if you do have a question, please type it in the chat. Everybody's muted. And at the end, we'll ask some questions of our guests. Again, every webinar is recorded and it will be posted on the First Robotics Canada YouTube channel. And the link will be then placed either tonight or tomorrow morning. We'll make a post in First Canada's Facebook page so you can see it at that point. So without further ado, we're going to get started. Thanks everybody for joining us. And today our two guests, our experts, are Michael Midura from Waterloo and Brendan Arciszewski, who is also from Waterloo but is working with a group in Hamilton. So perhaps what we can do to get started is we can get Michael to tell us a little bit about himself and then Brendan to join in as well. So take it away, Michael.
All right, so I'm a first-year student at Waterloo right now, the University of Waterloo. I'm studying mechatronics, all because of FRC. When I was in high school, I was part of Team 4976, the Rebels, and had a lot of good times there. And when I was back in middle school, I was part of a community team called eBots, and I did FLL with them. And that really took me all the way to here, where I'm now studying mechatronics, which is essentially a robotics-related program. And I don't want to give away FRC yet. Like, I'm not ready to give it away. So I had the idea to start a Robot in 3 Days team here. So I decided to go ahead and do that.
Thank you, Michael. And Brendan, give us your story a little bit.
So I am from a small town, so FRC was really, I really enjoyed it. The privilege was something that a lot of people in small towns don't often get. And I've been involved with FIRST since grade 4, starting with FLL. In grade 9, I joined 781 Kinetic Knights. And just the learning experience that I had in FIRST was awesome. And so I'm now at University of Waterloo in mechatronics engineering also. And Michael and I met one of the first days and we were talking about a robot in 3 days. He decided to start one at the University of Waterloo, and I was talking with some friends, and we decided to go the community direction. So we are running an event in Hamilton.
Well, thank you both. It's going to be interesting. We haven't had one of these that I can recall. I know Mr. Hobbins is on the webinar too, if he's heard of a team that or a group that's done a robot in 3 days in Ontario. It would be good to hear about that. But failing that, I think these are two brand new ones. It's just started organically, and we're looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. So today, if you have any questions, make sure that you type them into the chat box. Two of the questioners will be chosen after the webinar to receive First Canada swag. I think most of what's going to be going on today is Michael and Brendan are going to be talking about what they're going to be doing, but you as a team, a mentor or a student, really want to be seeing what does this mean for you? What do you want to see them do? Because they're going to be video and live streaming it, and what would help your teams. If you keep that in mind as we go through, I think that might help focus on the benefits of the robot in 3 days builds. So, Robot in 3 days has been around for a while, mainly throughout the United States. When you see this slideshow, and I'll include a link to the slideshow in Facebook and the YouTube channel. I'm not going to go through this link today because I want to really get to the guys and see what they have to say and what's going to happen. But there's a link to the YouTube channel that has all sorts of reveals from last year, and you'll see more of them coming up and more groups that have information about what they're going to do and who their group is and so forth. So the numbers of Robot in 3 days builds are growing exponentially. that is kind of the history of it. There are people like, as Michael explained, he's not ready to give it up yet, the FRC experience, and these are either university students or people who have graduated and now still don't want to give it up, and they want to build, brainstorm, problem solve, and so forth. And one of the things I would say that teams should look at when teams do this, the Robot in 3 Days teams, is the prototyping. If they prototype something that just absolutely doesn't work, there's no reason why your team should have to do that. And most teams that I know of dedicate someone to keep watching it as much as they can to pick out key points that they want to discuss as a team during their brainstorming and problem solving and building season. It should be mentioned that there are other ones in Canada. So there's two groups in Calgary, one at the University of Calgary. They call themselves Tesla. And then there's the SAITS, Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, Robot in 3 Days Build. And they've been going for more than a year. I think they've done it a couple of years at least. And actually the one in SAIT, they also do a FTC Robot in 3 Days Build as well, or maybe it's Robot in a Week. I can't remember if they've changed it to that. And of course, our friends in Quebec, they also have their own version of it, and it's Robot in 100 Hours, which I guess is looks a lot cooler than how you would say Robot in 3 Days en français. So those are some of the ones that you can click on the links to see what they've done in the past and maybe what they're going to be doing as we go along. So without further ado, we'll start with Michael and some information. I've put these questions down just to give you an idea of the kinds of things I think we should know, but Michael is free to go ahead and expand as he needs to. So go ahead, Michael.
All right, so Robot in 3 Days, we just talked about it a bit. And here at Waterloo, our big plan is to have 2 teams, so 2 different robots being built by 30 students each. So that's going to be a total of 60 students. And the reason why we want to run 2 teams is not just because more is better, but we want to kind of see how 2 different groups go about it at 2 completely different times. And we want to kind of see what works out and what doesn't live almost. We're going to have constant interactions between the 2 teams, but at the same time, we're going to have a curtain between them to try and separate them. So like I said, we're going to have 2 teams with 60 students, and we haven't chosen our teams yet. We've just finished our application rounds, and we're sifting through them right now. There's 120 applicants, so we got a really big pool of applicants this year, which is awesome because we were only gunning for 30 at the beginning, but now that we have 4 times that, it's a lot of work to go through, but it's going to make it a lot of fun. And so once we've picked our teams, we are going to be discussing how to make these 3 days happen the best. I've been talking a lot with Brendan because we're classmates, and he's also in Ontario, so we're going to be seeing for different ways we can collaborate between each other. And Brendan's going to talk a little bit more about that, I think. And so on that topic, where can you watch us build? We're definitely going to be live streaming through either Twitch or YouTube. But I feel the most important thing is going to be panels about certain topics throughout Robot in 3 Days. So we're really going to be wanting to help teams not just by showing, hey, here's a live stream of us building a robot in 3 days. Here's the process. Here's the design, the manufacturing, the programming, the wiring. We want to really focus in on, okay, so here's how we program. And we want to. I know when I was back in FRC. One of the toughest things for our programming team to do was vision, and we really didn't get it right until my last year in FRC, and it took a lot of learning, and I feel like a lot of rookie teams just don't have the time or the expertise to do it. So what we want to do is essentially give a panel of here's how you can do vision at the same time. 6 weeks before bag and tag, show everybody here's the vision for the year, here's how you can do it, and kind of hopefully a lot more rookie teams will have working vision for the coming challenge. Vision is a really important part of FIRST every year, and it's certainly something that once you learn and you go into your higher education with the knowledge of vision, it's going to really help you there. So we're going to try and push out these panels on these specific topics like vision, like AutoCAD, perhaps SolidWorks, different things that teams can learn besides just, here's our design process. And so those are all going to be up on YouTube. So hopefully we're going to have 2 functioning robots. I feel like that's the goal of every Robot in 3 Days team, is to have a robot that works in 3 days. And it's almost daunting to say now, and it kind of hasn't really dawned on me yet, the whole process of actually building a robot in 3 days, like going through all these steps to set the team up. The whole building part has kind of been in the back of my head, and like talking to a bunch of teammates right now, it's like, how are we actually going to do this? Like, this is a really big call. And I bet Brendan is kind of feeling the same way. I feel every Robot in 3 Days team is feeling every year, like, how the heck are we going to do this? FRC teams have trouble doing it in 6 weeks. When you cut that down by 40 days, how do you do that? And so the main goal right now is to build that robot in 3 days, 2 robots in 3 days, and hopefully we'll have that done and show to the world. But at the same time, although the build is, this really is a passion project, so the build is important to us. What's also important is, like I've mentioned, those videos, those panels on certain topics related to FIRST robotics. What's important to us is making sure that we put out content that helps the mission of FIRST and inspires teams around Canada and the world to look at our process, look at everyone else's Robot in 3 Days process, and say, here's what worked, here's what didn't, and here's what we can do once we get our robot built and running. And so, like I said, that's what we're going to focus on, and that's what we hope to do. And so why now? I don't know why there hasn't been a Robot in 3 Days team in Ontario yet. It's been a big thing down in the States, and it has happened in Canada, like Paul said, down in Calgary and Quebec. But in Ontario, I would have felt like Ontario would have been one of the first places for a Robot in 3 Days team to pop up in Canada, but that didn't happen. And I was looking for a way to keep FIRST going, and Brendan was also. And I remember talking to him, like he said, we were talking, how will be great, a Robot in 3 Days team. And so we've gone ahead and done that. And I feel like if we take this year and really make the pilot year for a Robot in 3 Days something big, then in the coming years, maybe a lot of other schools will want to do this. More communities around the world would want to start a Robot in 3 Days team, and it's really a fantastic way for people who are done with FIRST. They're students in college, university, postgraduates, anyone who doesn't have the opportunity to be a mentor yet, but also can be part of a FIRST team. I feel like Robot in 3 Days is a fantastic way for them to keep the spirit of FIRST alive in themselves, and hopefully that'll drive a lot of moving forward. That'll make Robot in 3 Days a much more popular thing around Ontario, Canada, and the world. And so overall, we're really excited to build our Robot in 3 Days. We're really excited to broadcast our process, broadcast our build, and help teams start with vision, start with SolidWorks, start with all these different things. And to me, I can't wait to see 60 smiling kids. I don't even know why I'm calling them kids. They're university students. I can't wait to see 60 smiling university students going away crazy for 72 hours building a robot down here in Waterloo, and losing sleep, but also just being with other people who miss FIRST and can't wait to build a robot. I am so excited to do this, and I bet Brendan feels the exact same way. And so that's kind of the gist of UW-Ri3D. And we have a lot of social media. If anyone is more interested in looking us up, you can just go to uwri3d.com, and from there you can read all about us and learn more about what we hope to do, why we're doing it. And hopefully next year, if you're a student at Waterloo, perhaps you're a FIRST student who's graduating this year and you're contemplating the University of Waterloo, hopefully join us next year. And I can't wait to see you there. So thanks.
Well, thank you, Michael. I just have a couple of questions. So before we get to Brendan. How many FRC teams do you think you have represented on your 60 student list?
So I've just started reading through our 120 applications right now. I've gone through about 10.
Wow.
Sorry?
So you haven't picked the team completely yet then?
Yeah, no. So on the website, it says that our application results come out on December 9th, and I'm gonna, now that Brendan will probably, Brendan and I, in our program, we've just finished our final projects with our big final project reports. So we've just gotten, we kind of have free time now. Not really, though. We have midterm or exams coming up, but we're gonna really push towards getting out these applicants by December 9th. And so we have 120 right now. The goal is to have 60 people taken from that 120 applicants. And just having gone through 10 applications, they were 10 different first teams. Wow. I also know that a lot of people who haven't been on first teams have applied.
Oh, that's
which is kind of what I wanted. I don't just want the team to be, first alumni. I've met a lot of people in my program who, they're doing mechatronics, they're doing engineering because they want to become engineers in the future, but they've never really done anything like it before. And so they kind of feel like, they see people who have done first robotics before, and they're almost a little like taken aback, like, wow, I can't do what you're doing. They totally can. And so that's why I really push towards having people who have never been in first apply, because, even if you've never built a robot before, you're passionate, you're probably creative, you have ideas, we want to see you bloom. And so I'm really pushing for that. But as far as first team representation, I have about, just after those 10, we have 10 different teams right now. There's probably going to be some duplicates, but it's really awesome.
Well, that's great to hear. Thanks. So let's head off to you now, Brendan, and maybe you can talk about your group and what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, sure. So basically, after the reason we went with the community team approach first, I'd like to address that. I have contacts in several universities just through former team alumni, people I've met, and I was honestly, just like Michael, quite surprised there weren't Ri3Ds already at the universities. So rather than contain us to a university, I wanted to make sure that everyone had a chance to get involved, and it really would end up diversifying the team. So what that meant for us was that we saw in our application some really cool people that we wouldn't have gotten if we hadn't opened it up. So we have our team list. We are 20 students. We had 40 applicants, and I'm just going to list off a few teams here of the people who are on the team. We have people from the States who applied and who are on the team. We have people from 771, 772, 865, Rick Hansen Robotics, 1310, 2056, 4476, 4678, 5024, 5036, just to name a few. And those students, we have a variety. They're either in their 5th year of high school, or they're at university. McMaster and University of Waterloo are actually pretty well represented, about 5 people each. We have people from U of T, we have people from UOIT. So I'm really excited to see what this group is going to be able to produce, because through all these programs, all the universities, they take different steps to educate their engineers. So that's going to be really interesting to see how we do. That said, obviously, we're going to focus on creating content and stuff that will help all of you. So we're going to follow the engineering process, right? Work our way through the design problem, score analysis, game analysis, strategy analysis, and then we'll get to prototyping and building and iterating on all of that. And that's going to be really awesome to see. It is going to be really fun. It is going to be really tiring. And it is just going to be really, really awesome, because what we're going to end up with, hopefully, is 2 prototypes for each major mechanism. So when I'm talking major mechanism, think for the 2017 game, think of a major mechanism as the drive system, or the gear mechanism, or the intake, or the shooter, or the climber. So that's the idea. We're going to have a few good prototypes, and at the end of it, we're going to put them all in a robot. The code is going to be all there, and you're going to get to see it perform. But not only are you going to get to see it perform, everything that we work on during this process is going to be made public. So you'll have access to our design documents. You'll have access to our CADs. You'll have access to any rationale that we made. And then when we're all done that, we're going to make sure that we reflect back on what we did and tell you guys what didn't work and why. Now, I'd like to clarify something. A lot of times, you'll see teams with really, really good robots, some robots that are really well engineered, but those robots don't end up winning events. So to help you guys figure out what robots win events, Michael and I are hopefully going to have a little mini preseason event about second or third week of build season. And what that's going to do is going to help you guys realize what works, what doesn't in a competition environment. So that, I think, once we're all done the robot, us university students, we want to have a bit of a stress relief too. Maybe we'll break each other's robots a bit, right? But no, we want to get that competition environment. We want to help you guys out, and so we'll hopefully see something really, really awesome come out of that.
Yeah, and we obviously, as we mentioned prior to the show starting, we have a setup now at the Studica warehouse where First Canada is located in Mississauga, and we will have a field set up. And what we would like to see is all the robots from the Robot in 3 Days in Ontario builds show up there, so mentors can come in and take a look at them. And we should have the field ready to go, I hope, for you guys. And that would be nice to see the robots compete on that field and see how they do.
Yeah, and I'd like to plug our sponsors here a bit. We've had support, obviously, from First Canada. We've had support from Studica, and we've had support from the Robodrome. The Hamilton Wentworth Catholic District School Board is supplying us with a build space and field, the Robodrome. That is the area that Team 5406 builds out of. So they've been really accommodating, and we're really looking forward to that. And if you would like to check out our social media and everything, facebook.com/Ri3D Ontario, or go to ri3dontario.ca.
So maybe, Brendan, for those people that really don't know about the Robodrome, like, what is that? Where is it?
So the Robodrome is located in downtown Hamilton. It is attached to the board office of the Hamilton Catholic District School Board. And so that facility, they have CNC machines, mills, lathes, your typical machine shop setup. And they also have a close to full-size field in there. So it is going to be quite impressive to work under there.
Yeah, I believe it was an old elementary school that closed, and the board took it over to use. Someone decided that a good use for that would be for robotics and the Hamilton Catholic Board, and certainly it's helped a lot. Now, what kind of access do you have there? Is it like 24/7, or I guess maybe 24/3 since it's 3 days build?
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to be there the entire time. We'll have people will be sleeping, so we'll have all that arranged, right? People aren't going to be working on the machines 24/7. That wouldn't be safe at all. But yeah, we will be there that entire time, just working on the robot, prototyping, strategizing, figuring out what works.
So maybe you and Michael can talk about the kind of support that you mentioned Studica. I think you've both contacted Studica, is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
And what kind of support are they providing?
Studica is providing us with it's an AM14U chassis. So that will be very helpful getting us off the ground and making sure that we have the components to get a drive base.
So I actually wasn't able to receive too much support back from Studica. I haven't heard back too much, but we did receive a lot of support from the University of Waterloo. We're going to be building out of the Sedgwick Student Design Center, and we've gotten a lot of our funding, over half of it, from the University of Waterloo. We also got a lot of funding from First Robotics Canada, and we have plans to get some kind of support from Andy Mark and Rev Robotics.
That's perfect. There's, on a side note here, Mr. Hobbins has chimed in that the Robodrome is in the former St. Mary's Elementary School, and I didn't know this, but he says that was his elementary school when he was going to school there back in the 50s, I believe it was. So that's somewhere around 50 or 60 years ago, I think.
Some good history there then, I guess.
Yeah, I guess maybe he closed down the school, perhaps, who knows. I'm sure he'll tell us more. So those are some great details. Have you guys broken up your teams, or are planning to break them up into sub-teams, or is everybody going to do everything? Let's maybe start with you, Brendan.
Okay, so our team was chosen based on the diversity of their skill set. So a lot of the designers and strategists on our team are also really good builders and manufacturers. But the key thing that we wanted on our team was a dedicated programming group, making sure that we had an amazing programming sub-team, and just getting all that work done, because we also hope to have some really good programming resources developed during that time. But other than the programming specific sub-team, it's going to be more waiting until the game is released, and then we'll split it up. Just because we don't know what kinds of mechanisms are going to be involved. Right. But we do know that each person has their own strengths with different kind of mechanisms. So once we really receive the game, once we strategize, when we break up, we'll be broken up based on our strengths in regards to what we think will be effective mechanisms.
And Michael, what about you guys?
So we haven't picked out our team yet. We're in the process of doing that. But I've been talking to, we kind of have some mentors on our team, some postgraduate students at the University of Waterloo who are acting kind of as, taking essentially the mentorship role that mentors would take on an FRC team. And we've been planning to divide the team into a manufacturing team, a design team, a programming team, and a electrical team, like a lot of common first teams do. Like Brendan, we really have to focus on having a good software team. That's because one of the things we really want to do is, push out those vision videos, push out those here's how you program a robot in first videos during the Robot in 3 Days. And looking through, just having looked at about 10 applicants, Waterloo's a very big software school, so a lot of those applicants were software engineers. But having gone through a lot of the applicants, we have management engineers, we have mechatronics engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical and computer engineers. We have people who aren't even engineers at all. We have a few applicants from planning and from health studies, believe it or not. We have a few applicants from computer science and mathematics. And so I am really looking forward to be going through these applications and seeing the diverse skill sets that all these students have. And but in the end, we're hoping to divide our team into 4 basic sub-teams: a design team, a manufacturing team, an electronics team, and a software team.
Well, that sounds great. I have a few more questions, but I want to mention to everybody that's online that if you do have a question, if you're listening and you have a question for Michael or Brendan or both, please type it into the chat box and we'll get to them in a couple of minutes. One of the things you guys have both mentioned is the programming or coding. Can you tell us, starting with you, Michael, what language you're coding in and why?
So we're actually planning on programming in more than one language. because we have two teams, I'm going to make sure that one team is going to be programming in C++ and one team is going to be programming in Java, because these are the two languages that a lot of first teams use. And I'm also hopefully going to find a few experts in LabVIEW to produce videos on LabVIEW and perhaps write some code that the robots could actually run on LabVIEW. But the two main programming languages we're going to focus on, because these are the ones that I see happening all the time out in the first world, are Java and C++.
And you, Brendan? So Team Ontario is, well, for the most part, all our members, our programming members, have some experience in C++ and Java. So while I would like them to be, as Michael said, using both, it really is up to them. And I think what we are going to do is go with Java. There was a thread on Chief Delphi back a while ago that suggested for rookie teams that they go with Java or Python, even though Python isn't an official language, just because of the ease of use compared to C++, and making sure that teams get their code working. What we do want is working code. We don't want problems that may arise. But I do have to get back to you on that. Our programming team, I've left them mostly alone.
Sure.
So
does everybody else.
You'll definitely all know soon enough. We will be updating our Chief Delphi thread, our website, and our Facebook page with information about all that as it comes out.
So I kind of also wanted to know if there was, in the areas that you two are in Hamilton and Waterloo, are there any people you think that are going to be part of your groups who are currently mentoring FRC teams in the area, or students that might still be in school and on an FRC team? Maybe Brendan, you can take that one first.
Okay, so I'm sort of mentoring Team 3683 in Waterloo, but in Hamilton, Jed Gonzalez, the other co-founder of Team Ontario, he is mentoring Team 5406, and we do have a few students who applied and who are on the team. One of them is from 1310.
And Michael?
So out of the 10 applicants I've gone through, none of them are currently mentors. I didn't really put a spot on that for the application, but right. I feel like if they were mentoring, they would write that somewhere in the application. So they haven't, but I have a feeling that there might be some mentors, because we do have a lot of upper years applying. Although a lot of our applicants, they are first years. First years make up about half of our application group. We have a lot of upper years and a lot of postgraduate students who I have a really good gut feeling that are going to be mentors, but I couldn't tell you right now who they are or what teams they're mentoring.
Do you guys see this as maybe becoming a incubator for mentors in the future? They go from your program, and even if they haven't done FRC, and then once they graduate and start working in the working world, that this is something that are hopefully going to continue?
Well, I know that for myself, my team 4976, I would be mentoring them right now if I could, but our coach, who is a big role model to me, he made this rule in our first year saying, if you can't come back and be a mentor the year after you graduate, he wants us to focus on school. And so I was not allowed to go mentor my team because of that rule. So, I started a Robot in 3 Days team instead. I know for myself personally, I feel like this is really going to help me understand better what the managerial aspect of a first team is going to be like. Because back then I was just programming. I was locked in a room all day with like 4 other people just programming away. But now I actually have to focus on all the different aspects. And I feel like I understand FRC a lot better than I did before. I can't wait to go mentor next year, and I feel like a lot of students will feel that way too, and I bet Brendan feels the exact same way.
Yeah. So a lot of our applicants are already mentors of teams. Just, I guess our team appealed to them. And so a few of them definitely noted that they really wanted to be on the team to take that knowledge back. But we also have a few members on our team who haven't done FIRST before. And the reason they were chosen is because their skills with the FRC aspect were quite amazing. And so hopefully they take that experience and they join FIRST officially and mentor a team. That really is what it's all about, making sure the kids learn, because while Ri3D can help, it's best to get directly involved.
I guess one last question then would be, in the number of applicants you got, did you get a lot of female applicants for the two teams?
I did. Just going through the names, I didn't actually ask for their gender in the application, and as I'm going through applications, I'm trying to focus more on the skill sets or the passion they kind of show for it. But just going through it, it seems to be about 50-50. Waterloo is a great place to go for this kind of event because Waterloo attracts students from all over the world, from all different backgrounds, from all different genders, and so our applicant pool is very diverse, and I'm really excited to go through them. And just by going through names and stuff like that, it seems to be about 50-50 right now, and I can't wait to go through them and put the teams up in the future online, and show you the exact team members that are going to be on our team.
Well, I know diversity is certainly a strength in Ontario, and of the teams that have it, it's a great thing. And diversity can come in terms of people who are non-FIRST people too. The perspectives they bring, not having been on a team, probably would be very useful as well. We do have our first question, and Michael and Brendan, I have my own opinion on this, but you guys are the experts, so I'll ask you. We have a question from Angel. She wants to know, which program do you think is the best for beginners? Programming language, I assume she means.
So I started with Java. I'm hugely biased here. Java is an incredible language to learn first because it has very strict object-oriented principles, and that's very useful to a beginner because it almost forces you to follow these strict rules that will instill good programming habits in you. But at the same time, a lot of people disagree with me. Some people will tell you Python. Some people will tell you C++, believe it or not. Some people will tell you Lua. Some people will tell you any language that's out there. So in my opinion, the best programming language is the one you start with. Whichever one that gets you loving programming is the one that's best, because that's the one that got you into this wonderful world, of software.
So I'm going to add my own opinion on that. I do think Java is awesome, and my response is going to be a bit, I think, surprising to most. I did mention Python earlier. That isn't what I'm going to say is the best option, because what you end up with Python is it's not officially supported. So while the community is awesome around it, if we're talking about officially supported languages, it's going to get you a lot more support directly from FIRST. I'm not going to suggest Java because Java, when you get to it, it's really, there are some weird things going on in Java. And something that's a bit better than that, but still uses Java behind it, is Kotlin. Kotlin runs on the JVM as well. And so what you end up with is a completely supported programming environment. But from what I've done a bit with it and from what other people have said, Kotlin is a lot more fun to program in. So that's what I would recommend.
So maybe as a favor to the teams that are asking these questions, you guys, if you could send me some links to those, your favorite Java resources and your favorite, is it Kotlin that you're saying, Brendan?
Kotlin, yes. Kotlin.
Okay. maybe that would be helpful to the teams that are going forward. I've never actually heard of that one. That one's new to me. I do have a correction I have to make. Mr. Hobbins has typed in that he did not go to St. Mary's in the 50s, as I said. He claims it was between 1965 and 1971. That's got to obviously be a typo because he's far older than that. But if he wants to go with that, we'll buy that. And I guess at this point, we've actually quite run over our time. This is the longest webinar we've had so far this year, which was great. Lots of good information. I will tell you that next week, we're going to talk about kickoff preparation. What should your team do for the kickoff? For rookies, for second year, third year teams, veterans, I assume will know. So hopefully they can chime in and tell the rookies what they do. And what changes would you like to see for kickoffs in the future? We're mulling over some changes, and we want to make sure that it reflects what teams think are going to be useful. So with that said, I would like to once again thank both Michael from the Waterloo group, a mechatronics student at the University of Waterloo, and Brendan, also a mechatronics student from the University of Waterloo, but with the Hamilton group. We look forward to hearing from you again, and hopefully we can get the robots to Studica and make sure that we can see them so that all the mentors in the area can come in and take a look at them and go through them. So Mr. Hobbins is pushing me on this to get you guys to commit to that. Can we ask you guys for a commitment to get them there by the Wednesday after the quick build start, after the kickoff? Is that doable for you guys?
I think that's
if it's in
definitely
Mississauga, I think that's doable.
Excellent. There you go, Mr. Hobbins. So thanks once again, and thank you to everybody listening. The webinar was recorded, and it will be posted tonight or tomorrow so everybody can hear it. So tell your teammates, tell your mentors, if they haven't come on and listened, that they should. This is great information from Michael and Brendan. Thank you once again.